So let me tell you one thing, that Indian classical music is not just a tradition. It's a living river carried forward by the great masters who shaped it slow and reimagined by the modern legends who keep it alive for new generations. Take Pandit Ravi Shankar, for example, the father of Anoushka Shankar, whom I spoke about earlier. He didn't just play the sitar, he made the world listen to India. From collaborating with George Harrison of the Beatles to performing at the Woodstock, Ravi Shankar made rags, at a global stage. Even today, when I listen to his music, it feels like a bridge between East and West, ancient and the modern. Then let's remember Ustad Bismillah Khan, the man who made the shehnai sing in ways no one thought would be possible. For centuries, shehnai was played mostly at weddings and temples, but Bismillah Khan turned it into a classical concert instrument, carrying its sound from Varanasi Ghats to the international stages. A fun fact, he loved his hometown Banaras so much that once he said that he couldn't live anywhere without the sound of the Ganga and its temple echoing around him. And of course, Ustad Zakir Hussain, the tabla maestro, whose fingers move faster than the eye can see. His rhythms are classical at their core, but his collaborations span is almost every genre, from jazz to flamenco to film music. When Zakir Hussain plays, it's not just a rhythm, it's conversation, laughter, play, poetry all at once. In today's world, platforms like Coke Studio, they have given new life to art, literature and music. By bringing together the classical musicians, folk singers, poets, modern bands, they have shown that tradition is not a relic, it's living, breathing and ready to mingle with the new forms. For many young listeners, Coke Studio became the first doorway into the classical and the Sufi-inspired music. Then there is AR Rahman sir. His contribution to Indian and the world music cannot be measured. Rahman Saab has blended the Carnatic and the Hindustani rag with electronic beats, orchestral scores and global sounds. From Roja to Slumdog Millionaire, his music has crossed languages, culture, continents, everything. I still remember the first time I heard his songs in Bollywood. I became his fan instantly. I was a kid. And I have remained one ever since. Like, I was a fan, I am a fan, I know I'll be always his fan. Every Rahman Sir's composition feels like a prayer and innovation walking hand in hand. Tu hi re, Roja Jane Man, Vande Mataram. I mean, there is no end. So in this video, we will celebrate these masters and their modern relevance, how they have preserved the tradition, expanded the reach and proved that Indian classical music is not frozen in history, but alive, evolving and inspiring millions even today.
Namaste, Adab, Salam to everyone. This is Anwar Jamal Faiz, joining you in your journey into Indian classical music. Indian classical music isn't just a tradition, it's a living heritage, carried forward by great masters, passed down through generations, and constantly reimagined for today's world. In this chapter, we'll celebrate the giants who shaped its journey, the traditions that preserved it, and why it still holds such deep meaning today. When we talk about the greats, one name stands out above all: Tansen. A gem of Emperor Akbar's court, Tansen was said to be able to bring rain with his ragas and light lamps with his voice. His story mixes myth and history, but one truth remains. He established Hindustani music as a divine art. Centuries later, voices like Pandit Bhimsen Joshi carried on that legacy. His deep, powerful performances of Khayal could inspire both devotion and wonder. Speaking of instrumental music, Pandit Ravi Shankar brought the sitar to the world stage. His collaborations with George Harrison of the Beatles and his performances at Woodstock introduced millions to Indian ragas. In the South, M.S. Subbulakshmi herself became the voice of devotion. Her singing of Carnatic Kritis was so pure that the United Nations even invited her to perform in 1966. a moment when Indian music touched the global soul. And then there's Ustad Zakir Hussain, the tabla player whose fingers speak their own language. His rhythms are rooted in classical tradition, yet his music crosses the boundaries of every genre, from jazz to flamenco, from symphonies to film scores. How has such greatness survived for centuries through the sacred bond of guru and disciple? In this tradition, music isn't taught in classrooms, but lived, absorbed, and dedicated to. A student might live with their guru for years, not just to learn notes, but to soak in values, discipline, and the very soul of the art. This intimate transfer of knowledge ensured continuity. Even today, the Guru-Shishya tradition is the backbone of Indian classical music, adapting to modern academies but never losing its heart. Classical music isn't locked away in an ivory tower. It flows everywhere, in cinema, in fusion, and in global experiments. Think of Lata Mangeshkar's ragas in devotional songs, or AR Rahman's tunes that weave Carnatic styles into pop music. The Mughal era wasn't just about emperors and courts. It was also a golden age of poetry and music. Poets like Mir Taqi Mir, Mirza Ghalib, and Sauda transformed Urdu into a language of deep expression. Under Mughal patronage, music became a refined art, creating a tradition that lives on today in ghazals and semi-classical music. Alongside the courts, another stream flowed Sufi music. Rooted in devotion and mysticism, it saw music not as performance but as prayer. Qawwali, sung in dargahs and gatherings, aimed to dissolve the ego and bring the soul closer to the divine. In recent times, Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan brought Sufi music to global stages with his powerful qawwalis, proving that devotion goes beyond language. Abida Parveen, often called the queen of Sufi music, brought such a deep, soulful intensity that it could move listeners to tears. In ghazals, Jagjit Singh and Muni Begum gave voice to poetry in a way that was accessible, emotional, and timeless. Their songs became companions in both love and loneliness. This tradition continues with Rahat Fateh Ali Khan, who blends classical qawwali with contemporary music, and with AR Rahman, who has brought Indian melodies and rhythms to the Oscars. But let's ask, what's the relevance of Indian classical music today? In this age of AI playlists and fast-paced music, what's its place? The answer lies in its depth. First, mindfulness. Listening to a raga slowly unfold is like meditation. It calms the mind, regulates breathing, and grounds us in the present moment. Second, therapy. Today's studies show how ragas can reduce stress, improve focus, and even aid healing in therapy. And now, in 2025, streaming platforms and YouTube make it possible for a teenager in New York, Nairobi, or Nagpur to discover Bhairavi at dawn or Kalyani in the evening. From Tansen's legendary voice to Zakir Hussain's flying fingers, from Ghalib's ghazals to Nusrat's qawwalis, from Subbulakshmi's devotion to AR Rahman's fusion, Indian classical and semi-classical music has been a river that never dries up. And here in 2025, it's not just a heritage to be admired, but a living practice to be experienced in concerts, in playlists, in meditation, and in our own search for meaning. So the next time you hear a raga, ghazal, or qawwali, remember, you're not just listening to music, you're listening to history, poetry, philosophy, and the soul, all singing together.